Well, the battle between the state and fitness facilities is continuing, Olivia, but the clock is now ticking for 3 Valley Health clubs to either close by noon today or face legal action.
Yeah, if you've been attending one of these places, you got a couple of hours left potentially. Specifically, the state is focusing on 2 Lifetime Fitness locations and Mountainside Fitness locations. So here's what we know right now. The state health department has sent them letters demanding that they get in compliance with the governor's executive order and close along with the other gyms for 30 days. In addition to sending these letters, the health department posted notices in the windows of the Mountainside Fitness at 116th Street in Shea and the Lifetime Fitness locations, the one in Tempe near Priest and Warner, and the newer location at 24th Street and Camelback Road at the Biltmore. Mountainside Fitness's chief executive has also filed a lawsuit seeking to undo the state's order. The state says if these gyms are not in compliance, though, by noon today, the department will then file a temporary restraining order against these facilities.
Is now boiling over, but the gym's owners say they're being unfairly singled out, and there's no actual evidence of any outbreaks at their facilities, including the owner of Mountainside Fitness saying he's fighting back after claiming that they're just being unfairly blamed. During the last shutdown, the owner of Mountainside says he spent a lot of money to purchase sanitation equipment, train employees, and then rearrange his gym layouts and outlooks to provide physical distancing in cooperation with CDC guidelines. But he says he's still being asked to close down again.
I challenge anybody at this point to walk over to Home Depot, to go to a casino, to go to a liquor store, or to a restaurant and have dinner. And let's all wait for that decision. I asked the governor, where's the proof that this decision came from any evidence of what's happening in any health club here in Arizona or across the country?
That is Tom Hatton, the owner of Mountainside Fitness. And yesterday, right here on Good Morning Arizona, Heidi asked the director of the Arizona Department of Health Services about the specific closures of gyms. Here's her response.
Was there any evidence that gyms were contributing significantly to the peak numbers that we're seeing right now?
So there has been evidence of increased breathing, especially when you're exercising, when you're singing, when you're yelling, or when you're shouting. We know that that increases the transmission of COVID-19.
Dr. Kerr Chris went on to say casinos, like other businesses, will still be required to follow state safety guidelines as they reopen, even though we have seen large crowds that seem to go unchecked. So this morning, one legal expert thinks that gyms and fitness clubs might actually have a case against Governor Ducey's executive order. We are joined right now by Monica Lindstrom. We thank you very much for taking the time to talk with us. First, let's talk about the order and the pushback. What happens from here if they continue to not oblige by the governor's executive order?
Well, the governor and law enforcement has come out and said, look, if you're not going to follow the order, then we're going to first try to educate you so that you're aware of the order and what you need to do. And if that doesn't work, then we're going to end up citing you. And it is a class 1 misdemeanor, 6 months in jail, $2,500 fine. And from what we've learned, law enforcement is actually citing some of the managers at the Mountainside Fitness locations at various locations instead of just the owners. So that's essentially the punishment that's going on right now. If any gyms like Mountainside, if they happen to have any liquor licenses, for example, I think this has happened to Lifetime Fitness, the liquor board is going to pull those liquor licenses as well.
Let me ask you about the governor left it up to local agencies, but there seems to be a progression here because not only the local agencies, now he's getting the state liquor license, involved in here, as well as the health department. So where does it end, or is this just a tactic?
You know, that's a really great question, Javier, because it's very inconsistent, right? We first heard that the governor puts out this executive order, which applies to everybody in the state. And then we hear that he's leaving it up to the different municipalities and he's asking law enforcement to go ahead and enforce. He's not requiring it, although he can. He's asking that they do. And then we hear that some of these cities aren't going to enforce it. And then we hear the governor pulling in the state agencies, such as what you just mentioned, the liquor board and the health department. So the best bet, if I was a business, is stick to that order, follow that order, because you never know who's going to be knocking on that door to turn around and try to punish you.
You seem to think that these gyms actually might have a case against the state. How is that?
Well, they do have a case. I think there's a good faith basis. Basically, what Mountainside is saying in its lawsuit is, number one, there's no evidence that said that the gyms are causing this problem. So why should it have to be closed? Why not restaurants? Why not Home Depot, which you just heard Mr. Hatton speak about? And then second of all, whenever the government tries to take away the right from its citizens, and there is a right for them to continue to operate and stay open and in business, when the government takes that right away, it needs to give due process. It needs to either give notice in a hearing, or afterwards, immediately or as soon thereafter, give a hearing so that the business can say, "Whoa, whoa, 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 you don't need to shut us. We're not doing anything wrong." Well, right now, even though Ducey shut the gyms, there's nothing in place to allow the gyms a hearing to try to stay open. And that's a big problem. The website says that there's supposed to be a form that they can fill out, but as of yesterday, there wasn't a form on the website. So basically, Mountainside is saying, look, it's arbitrary. There's no evidence about these specific gyms, and you haven't given us a chance to have due process in a hearing.
All right, it's going to get interesting. We're looking at 8:22 right now, so they only have a couple hours left to figure out what's going to happen next. So we thank you for your input and your insight, and we'll watch this one closely.